Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. Hope you're doing well as always. Now, as you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to dive into November. And the way I've been doing my monthly forecasts, they really, in my view, they're not really forecasts in the traditional sense that you would see other astrologers do. I'm not necessarily going through every little tiny thing because I think it's important to have content throughout a month. But for me, I've enjoyed evolving this channel to be like a conversation, right? Versus me just constantly being a super scientific analyst and trying to give you exactly what this is all going to mean. A conversation for me is how astrology is an art, yes, a very specific divination tool with very accurate symbolism that can very much tell what theme of life or situations could arise. But it's an art still because we are all works of art. All of us, all of life. But ourselves, we are a work in progress, a painting that is constantly being touched up. Now, that being said, when I want to, my view of a conversation is, yes, we're going to talk about transits. Yes, we're going to talk about stuff that goes on throughout a month. And I'm going to really hone in on the big things because these are the trigger points, the catalysts, the potential breakdowns or breakthroughs. And every month has at least a new moon or a full moon, which we all learn something massive in one of those two zodiac signs, whatever house topics those fall in. So that's why it's always important to talk about the two biggest lunar phases, but also whatever else is very significant. And we're coming off of the worst month of astrology, in my opinion, aside from the solar eclipse in Aries that was in April. October, in my view, was one of the most challenging, intense, collectively, and for some of us individually. Now, for a lot of people I know, when I say intense, I'm not even talking negatively intense. I'm saying maybe even workload, maybe even psychological issues that are involving like changing one's situation for the better. I know many people who, have been having a very intense month, but it's like the intensity is amping up their game for things that they're involved with, right? Yes, challenge is here for many of us, but also a lot of the clients I've been having lately in a lot of my readings, these challenges have been necessary moments for a next step. Right? Now I can go into so many examples with, recent readings I've had with people to kind of, tell you like, hey, not all of October was horrible, but I do feel a lot of us, especially since we're so tied to the collective karma happening right now. And I'm going to do my best to not talk about the election and politics because this channel is not a dedicated channel for mundane astrology. I have other social medias that dedicate that kind of stuff to, that I dedicate that stuff to. But it will be difficult, I must admit, to get through this video without discussing potentially stuff going on in the world. Because what goes on in my country is going to change everything. And what comes of the two-party system and the supporters and followers of each party is going to be something we've never seen. Like, we've never seen this vileness coming from really all sides of the aisle. But again, I don't want to start pointing fingers here, but it's very tense, and it's tense for a reason. Controversial figures involved in this race, and ideologies brewed over 10 years. And it's going to be very difficult to talk about stuff this month without mentioning some of that, but I'm going to do my absolute best to not talk about politics or any specifics, but I might revert to certain things. Maybe. We'll see. But October really was the month where most of this intensity, especially politically speaking, by the way, like we're going to see just the fallout of all of this buildup that October has been providing, right? Like we're going to know where we stand on election day, for example. And then what comes after election day, that's where there's stuff in the sky in November that very much indicates delay, trickery, trickster energy, lying. We're talking about retrogrades kicking off towards the end of November. We're talking about Mars slowing down, preparing for its retrograde at the beginning of December. So November is like this weird month of chaos, confusion, slowing down. Things are going to feel slow, but at the same time, on the collective stage, things are going to feel very fast. So I'm sensing this very strange time dilation that we're all going to feel, because there's going to be a lot of limbo going on in the world, because all of the world's going to have their eyes on the US. Okay, like everybody is going to be looking what's going on, what's happening, and we're going to feel that, and our individual lives will go on, of course, but there's this weird, and this is how I've been describing it to people, there's going to be this weird speeding up because Pluto and Saturn will be direct. I mean, Saturn will be direct November 15th. So right in the middle of the month, Saturn goes direct. Pluto will literally be going direct November 20th. Or no, Pluto is direct, but Pluto will be flipping into Aquarius November 20th. And we're going to get to some of this stuff in a minute. But Pluto's moving forward, wrapping up the rest of the Pluto return karma as we get to November 20th. So November 20th is going to be a big day for the world. Saturn going direct. I mean, it's going to do something. It's going to mean something, especially in our own individual lives, whatever Pisces is for you. But we'll have to track and map to see how that manifests. And I'm sure you kind of already know what Saturn and Pisces could be teaching you all these, the last year or so. But everything else is going to feel slow, and Mercury will be in pre-shadow pretty much starting the second week into November, maybe a little bit before the second week. So we're going to be in a pre-shadow already by, again, like 9 or 10 days into November. So there's a lot of karma and slowing down and things going on all around us. But at the same time, life is going to just be feeling like it's also going 1,000 miles an hour. So I like to call this maybe a month of purgatory. This is like a purgatory month. And we have to just keep our center and stay grounded. And we're dealing with Scorpio energy until November 22nd. Then we'll be dealing with Sagittarius energy dominantly as far as the sun is concerned as we finish off the month. And I think politically speaking, by Sag season, by when the sun gets to Sag, I think we're all going to understand what's the truth, right? There's the truth and the silver lining of what purgatory has meant will be clear, right? I think. Don't hold me on all the details, because again, I just feel I do have a forecast of what I think will happen in November. But again, this channel is not for any sort of politics. I need to keep saying that because I really want this channel to be about helping you on an individual level through your spiritual and psychological needs involving astrology. So, but again, it's very difficult to not constantly think about what's going on in the world while talking about this. As an astrologer, it is very difficult because everything is so potent right now. But October, behind us. Mars-Pluto oppositions just about finishing, profecting literally November 1st. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. We're having a new moon in Scorpio, November 1st. So we're starting off the month with a brand new moon in Scorpio. This is huge. Okay, where's Scorpio in your life? Something is going to be born there. Something won't be revealed to you, but there's going to be an impulse. There's going to be a knowing of a new beginning, of something new, a new perspective, a new intense intuition. And Scorpio is infamous for its intensity, for its intuition, and for its deep, deep sensitivity. So, yes, depending on what's going on in your life, we can expect something new to arise, whether this is a new thought, a new idea, again, something new revealing itself, even though I'm not talking about a revealing like a full moon reveal. I'm talking about more something that you know in yourself to be true that can start something new, right? New moons are new adventures. They're quests to go forth. Where a full moon reveals something that was once hidden. And yes, you can take action on the full moon stuff, but new moons are different. Or we somehow come to an understanding that we need to start something new, or we need to look at something from a new perspective. And Scorpio might force us to deeply investigate whatever that is. Mars will also be going opposite Pluto officially at 29 degrees. So Mars at 29 degrees Cancer will be going opposite Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. And this is the final moment after everything that was building up in October for, because the opposition from Mars to Pluto has only been getting stronger for all of us. Now, if you would like to share maybe some of your experiences with Mars opposite Pluto, because we experience this often, right? I mean, Mars will transit the zodiac once every year or so, and we will always have an opposition to Pluto. So in this axis of Capricorn to Cancer, though, this is the last time we're going to taste the Capricorn energy from our past 15 years. So I'm not sure if any of your opposition moments and experiences have been kind of like a karmic ending, like a final showdown. That's why I keep using the word showdown, like a final face-off, a final purge of anger, a final recognition of truth that you must now fearlessly move forward in or something. Again, it could be very explosive. There can be something very like a breakdown or a breakthrough. This is very breakdown, breakthrough stuff, especially with Mars being so potent, activated, and aggressive. So we're going to be feeling that is with a new moon. So this new moon and the Mars-Pluto opposition may have a link because they're so powerful together, or one may trigger the other thing, something like that, potentially. And then Mars will ingress into Leo the next day. So then right off the bat, Mars is back into a fire sign. And it hasn't been in a fire sign since Aries. So that was honestly, the last time Mars was in Aries, that was really right after the solar eclipse, right? In April. So Mars has not felt fire since then. And the Leo parts of our lives will be activated for 6 degrees up until December 7th, I believe, where it will go retrograde. So Mars will only get 6 degrees into Leo. And that little small journey begins the day November 2nd. So there's really not much for me to talk about that, except for your Leo story is about to get lit up with Mars. You might feel super energized and aggressive and on, vital in that particular area of your life. Leo in our lives is really, if we're evolving properly in that part of our life, Leo we want to be empowered in that part of our life. We want to be leaders. We want to, really be passionate and, just loud, we want to, just kind of step into the spotlight and really show the world, and whatever part of whatever part of life that is for you, we want to show up there. So Mars going into Leo for a lot of us will be a breath of fresh air. It will be nice to get out of Cancer. So it really just depends on what your story is, of course. And on the world stage, I am a little worried about this transit because Mars in a fire sign, when things in the world are are kind of going wild, can be an interesting transit. Now, But again, that Mars Leo transit will be short-lived. We're going to taste it only for November, right? And then, yes, into December, we're going to have it throughout December, but it will be retrograde all December. So going from how we will experience Mars starting November 2nd throughout the month of November, in comparison to how we're going to experience Mars throughout the entire month of December, will be greatly different flavors. Greatly different flavors. So we really should pay attention to what goes on in our life while Mars is in Leo, those first 6 degrees, because we're going to be revisiting some of that stuff potentially through December, right? As it retrogrades back from where it came from. And to be quite honest, throughout the Mars journey through Cancer thus far, we really have to track back as far as October 5th, because October 5th is where Mars was in Cancer at 17 degrees. And that is where it will retrograde the farthest backwards into February. So honestly, we're going to be reviewing a lot of shit that happened in our life between the Leo, Cancer zodiac signs, going back as far as October 4th. So this is really important to kind of understand for potential reactivations of things that the Mars retrograde story could very much be all about. But again, I think transits and retrogrades and things going on in one's life are so complex that we really can't stick to that script of every little thing you've been through since October 4th is going to be some part of this massive Mars retrograde story. Not saying that, but classically, this is how it works. In astrology, that's how we look at things, you know? Now, halfway through November, we have Venus going into Capricorn. Mercury begins its pre-shadow. Okay. So Venus will find her way out of the fire and back into an earth sign. And for me, Venus is this, to me, this is where pleasure goes out the window. To me, this is where if we want pleasure, if we want good things in our life, and again, wherever Capricorn in your life is, this is where it all goes down. But Venus is going to be like getting back on Earth and wanting to work, wanting to kind of move in a straight and narrow path without too much wiggle room for expression in the way that she would maybe want to. And again, Venus is really about pleasure. It's not necessarily always about money. In modern astrology, money has been a signification attached to Venus. But back in the day, in ancient astrology, Venus was just always associated with pleasure, things that brought pleasure, things that were pleasurable, you know, luxuries. And, you know, we can include sexual stuff and all that as well. But anything that's about pleasure. So when we bring the planet of pleasure and adornment and luxury and nice things, beautiful things into a zodiac sign of Saturn, where we are really talking about being focused, stern, playing by the rules, and getting to work on something. We're talking about Venus not having a fluffy, nice time like it was in Sagittarius. And not saying that Sagittarius gives Venus a nice, fluffy time, but Venus in a fire sign is always a good thing for most of us, right? It always provides some kind of harmony if our karma is in the right places, right? Because sometimes our pleasures can burn us. Sometimes our desires can backfire. So when we talk about Capricorn Venus energy, we're talking about a seriousness to pleasure, or maybe even a lack of pleasure, because we're talking about Capricorn of all zodiac signs, a very conservative sign, compared to, for example, Aquarius, which is also ruled by Saturn. So to me, I'm seeing, again, a Venus and Capricorn transit is like, nah, not so much pleasure here. And then Mercury begins a pre-shadow, I think, on the same day. So again, the slowing down of the mercurial, the slowing down of things maybe in the political world. Again, we're going to see a lot of purgatory energy, things going on in the world, you know, especially in the election cycle. I don't think we're going to find out who won the election like the night of, even though there could be people who claim they won the election first, when in reality there needs to be more work done. Like whatever the case may be, there's going to be delays. There's going to be a purgatory when it comes to the election stuff. And we're going to be a part of this. Maybe parts of our lives are going to kind of feel that slowing down too, right? We're all sucked into the collective stuff. And this could manifest in little ways in our themes of life that these zodiac signs are. So yeah, Mercury will begin a pre-shadow in the middle of November, and then Saturn will go direct November 15th, and we're having a full moon in Taurus on the same day. So that's a very interesting combination to have. A full moon in Taurus while Saturn goes direct. Now, Saturn going direct, I'm not going to focus on in this video. Again, we can explore that in another video. If you want to leave some thoughts on your Saturn Pisces stories, please, I would love to read them. But essentially, I just feel like whatever Saturn has been dissolving in that part of your life to kind of want to restructure something new, as Saturn exits Pisces sooner than later, Saturn going direct again is just kind of just turning its engines on for, again, attempting to envision something that needs to be kind of built there for you. And we'll talk about that another time. But the full moon in Taurus is very big because, again, coming off of the new moon in Scorpio, right? We're now going to conclude that lunation cycle with the illumined moon in Taurus, where the moon is exalted in Taurus. So again, I feel by the time the new moon comes, we're all going to feel a sense of understanding. We're all going to look at the world, even though we may want to blow our brains out, and we're going to at least understand where we stand. We're going to understand the outcome of the election for sure, potentially. We're going to, in our own lives, because we're dealing with Taurus, we're going to want to birth something new into being. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. It's about steady work. It's about steady movement forward. It is about steady growth. It is about hard work. It is about, again, Taurus season is the beginning of spring, really. It's like it's when spring is in full effect in the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, you know what I mean? Or northern hemisphere. Where things are really blooming. So Taurus, I mean, for a lot of us, we may see a massive bloom somewhere in our Taurus sector in our birth chart, that theme of life. So in the midst of all this chaos in the world, I think having a Taurus full moon is enlightening for many of us. But it also will reveal something new in our life that we must face and that we must accept. Okay? It may be one of two political people on the world stage, right? Someone is going to have to accept an outcome, potentially. Someone is going to have to accept the new future that the torch needs to be passed on to, right? The Biden administration needs to pass on the torch to one of two people. And I think that this full moon in Taurus, in the middle of the month, where all people in the political world should have a handle on like who really won this thing. And I think the middle of the month is going to be the beginning of those massive conversations, because, I mean, I can't lie to you guys. I mean, this election will be denied by most likely Trump, okay? Because he's already threatened to do it. And again, I'm an independent and I constantly look at both parties and shake my head, but I mean, what do you do when someone doesn't concede or doesn't want to admit that they lost? And then what do you do when people still don't believe he lost a bunch of years ago, when literally everyone said that he did? And it's like, this could be the collapse, or this can be the opportunity for, again, a Taurus new full moon to reveal itself and to hopefully pave the way forward, whatever it becomes, as long as it's peaceful. But the thing with Taurus full moons is it's going to reveal the opportunity for steady growth, right? Reveal something we must accept in order to move forward, right? And And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But in our own life, where is Taurus in your birth chart, right? Where is Taurus? Where is Taurus? This is very important to contemplate. And we will talk more about this at a later date. Also, Pluto in Aquarius, November 20th. We will talk much more about this. And we've already talked a lot about this already, but this really is the beginning of a 20-year cycle for all of us. Massive things have been going on in all of my clients' lives. In my life, I know exactly where I think this is going to start teaching me massive lessons. But again, we're talking about 20 years here, and we barely know the details of how that's going to truly unfold. Barely. But that's a really big moment. And again, coming after the full moon in Taurus and wrapping up a lot of the stuff in the world, this is a big moment for, again, what really the future is going to look like for a lot of us. Okay? But we can't ignore what's going on in the world. But in our own life, again, massive activation for that particular part of your life. And if you haven't met me yet and done a reading and you want to understand more about your Pluto story, literally every client I've had, we've been able to investigate this, and I've been able to guide them into what is this going to mean, right? What is this going to all mean? A historic moment, November 20th. Now, the end of November, we have the sun going into Sagittarius, November 22nd. We have Mercury going retrograde, officially November 26th. And then Mars will be gearing up to go retrograde by December 7th. So the end of the month, we will be truly diving in to the conclusion of the most intense astrology to date. Now, again, we'll talk more about the sun going into Sagittarius. We'll talk more about the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. But again, we're going to be talking about all things involving truth, wisdom, movement forward, passion, and whatever theme of life Sagittarius is for you is not only going to be activated by the sun, but will also be in an intellectual and mental review of something where we're going to have to uncover a part of our life that gets activated there and kind of go into, again, a contemplative place where we have to handle an issue that involves communication, that involves some form of intellectual blockage, potentially, or most likely, because again, Mercury, the mind, and communication. So there's a lot that's going to be activated while the sun enters Sagittarius as Mercury is about to go retrograde. And that retrograde will continue on through the first 2 weeks into December. And then Mars is gearing up to go retrograde too. So again, we're concluding all of the past Scorpio season stuff. Like that's going to be put to bed. And then all of Sagittarius stuff is going to be very much activated. And the story that I will continue on at a later date involving Mars too is that Mars will be going opposite Pluto once again throughout November. Once Pluto is back in Aquarius, Mars gets reactivated by oppositions. And that's something I didn't mention in this video, but it is something we will explore further because, again, we're going to be dealing with kind of some new tension, some new challenge potentially involving the Leo part of your life and the Aquarius part of your life. But when I say challenge, I'm not saying that in a sense where, oh my God, something bad's going to happen again. I'm talking about innovation, a challenge that will be somewhat innovative for you, right? Kind of the Martian pep in our step we're going to need, even though there could be a little tension there with the opposition. But there's going to be an opportunity as we jumpstart, not only the retrograde for Mars, but as we jumpstart our new future into Aquarius. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you. Again, keep up with me every Sunday. We will continue to unfold what goes on in November. My next video I'll put out will be on the new moon in Scorpio specifically, probably. So definitely subscribe if you are new and stay to the end. And yeah, my friends, take care now.